There's only 7 more minutes of this, so just let it go. Just let it go. All right. Well, that was recorded on Monday. This was supposed to be a promo. Today, of course, my co-host was supposed to be Low Effort Whale. And unfortunately, that didn't play out the way we expected it to. So, but that promo was it was a bit that he worked up, wherein it was going to be, like a Gilligan's Island type thing. And I thought it was just gold, so I had to play it. And of course, we're still very much in mourning. But when you can't have Low Effort Whale, the next best thing, of course, is Alex Delia. A lot of people say that he's sort of considered the Low Effort Whale of the test space, long before Low Effort Whale even existed. So happy to have Alex with me. But what do you got for us, Alex?
Nothing, man. I just woke up to a DM from you and then hopped into space.
Well, you'd be surprised how often people in this community start their days that way.
Yeah.
So,
no, man, I'm just chilling here,
cool,
drinking a Mountain Dew.
Well,
and
fitting because he's from the mountains.
That's true. It's true.
Well, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna real quick sort of catch everybody up on where we stand with things, and then feel free to chime in, and then we'll chat about what you got going on and what I got going on, and then we'll bring up some people to ask questions specific to either of those things, and then we'll just reflect on life. These, the funny thing is, I set these middle of the day Wednesdays up. So we can get Indonesia in here, and we got a few Indonesians in here. We got a few Europeans that sort of makes a little more sense for them, that like to go to bed early and tuck the kids in and what have you. But really, everybody else just listens to my silky voice. Which, by the way, I'm sure everybody that hangs in the grotto is like, "Whoa, this sounds really shitty." Yes, because I don't get to connect to my, fabulous new microphone, which I'm sure you guys are already used to. Because first of all, I wouldn't have any idea how to do that to get it into my phone. But the fact that you can only run Twitter Spaces off of fucking mobile is the dumbest thing ever, and it makes me want to not do them at all. But we got to let some folks in to hear some of the stuff. Although I got a little surprise about that. A little surprise about how external non-grotto people are going to be able to listen to my sexiness on a more consistent basis. But that will be announced in due time. So, what do we got going on this week? Well, of course, we started off. Those of you who are a little late in getting here, we listened to some Low Effort Whale songs. But we're in the midst of March Madness still, which has, we started we started on Selection Sunday. So we're like 10 days into it, right? But the concept was to stay in line with the men's national basketball tournament that we have every year in the States, where all the college teams compete for the national championship. So I came up with a mechanic wherein we could get everybody, or a lot of everybody's at least, involved in that process, that big sports tournament, and the betting aspect of it, and the way that Americans sort of love to gamble on things, and so I basically at the end of the day I painted 264 individual, they end up being one of ones, all rather low effort, or at least can be constructed or seen as such that they were just weakly constructed and thrown together. But there's some reasons behind them as usual. So we had these 264. There were drawings that you had to enter. We had lots and lots of entries. 400 and some entries, I think, to get those 264 spots. If you got one, I'm sorry, let me turn down the background here. The grotto is chirping at us, which reminds me I got to look at what they're saying in here. Oh, good. Baby Beeps recorded the beginning, the whale songs. So grotto members will be able to listen to the beginning there. That's good. But so basically, I had all these paintings, the low effort 101s, and if you were picked in the raffles, you paid 5 tes for them. Okay. And the concept being that then we let the wheel dictate which team of these 64 teams that play you're assigned to, and win or lose, your fate is determined by that team. And so you start out with 64 teams on day one, and by day two, 32 of them have lost and they're out. And then you've got day 3 and 4. It's basically every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for a couple of weeks, and then the finals are on Saturday and Monday of the third week. So it goes on for all this time. Now, typically, in such things, if you lose and you're out, then it's all over, and it's not very exciting. It's really just a handful of teams that even have a chance of playing or continuing. And so what I did is I built a mechanic around it where um, by being eliminated, it actually puts you into the mix for a different group of prizes. So there's 64 entries per group, and we end up making 4 groups. Okay. Um, and so, what is it, 256 or whatever total groups split 4 ways. So you had 4 different, players represented by, like, let's say the University of North Carolina, right? But they were playing independently of each other against other groups of 64 grotto / non-grotto contestants. Okay, so everybody's got their stuff. They paid 5 tes. They get a 1-on-1 for playing. Okay, but as their team loses and is taken out of the actual tournament, then they're given a number of entries into this consolatory bracket that we set up. Okay, the constellation group. Okay, and every end of each round, there are 6 total rounds. There's drawings of all of the losers uh, to see who wins prizes. Okay, so basically, you got a 1 in 3 chance of being selected over the course of the whole tournament in each group that you're in. Okay, and the prizes started out with sort of my cheapest stuff, which is like 20 tes. Okay, so if you're picked, you spent 5 tes, and if you picked, you win a prize that's worth at least 20 tes. Okay, and at the top end, when we get to like the end of it, the stuff I'm giving away is like 300, 400 tes around there. Okay, so that's the big stuff. So if you spent your 5 tes, you got a 1 of 1 with a chance at winning this other stuff. Now, if you won the other stuff, you have to burn your 1 of 1 to claim it. Okay. And so this is where we, over the weekend, we one of those 4 groups the 4 groups of 64, they all got unique art, right? 4 different approaches to the art, and all different stuff than I normally do. Not my typical baseball card threesome stuff, right? But one of the groups were what I called 3 friends, and these are low effort animals that are sort of along the lines of I don't know, other projects that rhyme with 3 friends, right? Um, and so what I did is I painted 64 animals. I did it generatively in the sense that I let somebody else make the list of 64. I told my son, write down 64 animals, and then explain why or the what's or whatever. Then he he gave me a list of 64 animals, and I painted them one by one without any reference point. I didn't look at anything, and I only got one chance to paint it. So whatever lines I came up with, that's what the animal fucking became. And some of the animals most of the animals I never painted or drawn, and some of them um, I'd never even seen. I mean, I don't. I still to this day, I'm not really sure what an aardvark looks like. So we had the three friends as one of the groups, and of course, the community fell in love with the three friends and vowed to defend them till the end. And then, of course, in the first round, somebody burned their low effort whale to claim their prize. And so we've been mourning the passing of low effort whale all week, which is kind of fun. But where we are right now is we finished two rounds. So the first round, there were between all four groups, there were 24 prizes drawn. Okay. Um, only five of the 24 were claimed. Everybody else said, no, I want to defer it and I want to keep playing for better prizes. So I was trying to give away 24 prizes worth between like 20 and 60 TES. Ended up giving away five. Then we get to our next round, and that we drew those on Monday and yesterday. Um, and so there were 20 prizes now because it goes down as they get better, right? So 20 prizes ranging from like 35 to probably about 90 TES. Okay. So we had 20. Now we did have what? Seven of them claimed. So more were claimed because they were more valuable, I guess. Um, but still, up to this point, I could have given away 40, 44 prizes, but at this point, I've only given away 12. So the idea of this whole project, it's an event. We call it an event, which is something that's not a part of my normal series. It's not a part of the debut of new teams and new players, right? But usually it's an event where we're using other things, or I might be painting a special set for it or something. But it allows us as a community to keep going in between my major releases. So this event, um, the way it plays out, it's really about making everybody, in addition to teaching them about American college basketball, the national championship for men, okay, and the way the Americans gamble. That's one element. I like kind of sharing American culture and pop culture with everybody, right? Um, but it's also about teaching the concept of risk here. Okay, so everybody, we had more people willing to give me five TES um, than we had slots available, right? Um, and they get something right off the bat. Now, it's something that, as I said, is low effort. It's not really a part of my oeuvre, right? Um, but it's painted by me. It's hand painted by me, so you get that. But then you're you know tempted by what you can win. Okay, and so uh, it's just, to me, it's this exploration of the idea of risk, and that's what we've watched is people saying, look, I'm willing to, I'm given something that's worth far more than I spent. Four, six, eight times more at this point, right? And I still want more, and I'm willing to risk that I don't get anything, or that I keep this one piece. And so, if you look at the pieces, one are some pink hearts. They're all color coded, right? A lot of my work has to do with colors. A lot of it has to do with numbers, right? But they're color coded. So you got pink hearts. But if you go check out my wallet, my threesomes wallet, because I minted all this shit on a different wallet because there was just so much volume that I can't really like throw off my normal. I curate my wallet. I don't know if any of the rest of you do, but I curate my wallet. So I didn't want to throw off the curation of my wallet. So if you go look at my normal wallet, though, I've created four gifts that represent these four groups. And if you look, three of them are actually my first foray into stop motion animation. So as I painted those low effort pieces, I was actually like doing my own little twist on animating them into things. So the hearts are animated and the cubes are animated, um, and so it's fun. I like playing around in things that are a little outside of the norm for me. And of course, I always like teaching lessons, but that's what we've been doing. And so, when low effort whale couldn't make it as my co-host this week, and this is going to be a new thing. We started last week with PB. Paper Buddha was so great, just hanging out and chopping it up and asking questions and bouncing stuff off and sharing his projects and stuff. But I thought, who better to bring up than as a co-host than Alex Delia. Um, and if it's pronounced Delia, well, that's your own damn fault. I don't.
No, no, man, it's
That's what.
Delia, and I actually, yeah, and people are starting for the first time in my life to pronounce it correctly on the first try.
Well, that's good. See, you've come a long way, and
It's pretty magical, I would say.
and
Yeah,
and you've come a long way with very low effort, which is why I decided to bring you up. See, tying it all in together. Those of you, maybe some of you don't know. I think pretty much because my group knows the Tezos world, right? Plus, my group knows fucking Crypto Kitsch, and that's nifty. And I'm sure that they've listened to your episode, and they know that Kitsch loves your project. So we're
yeah, Kitch is so
he's
great.
amazing. He's amazing. It's really a shame about the charges. I hope they don't stick. But uh, but we know you. We know your stuff. And I joke when I call it low effort because it's the sort of thing that uh, really just captivates me because I have zero talent for any of the stuff you do, like zero. Right? I couldn't conceive of what you do. So walk us through what you got going on. Um, consider it an introduction to people that don't know you at all.
Sure. So for about a year now, I've been doing this series called Artifact Quest, and I guess the best way to describe it is there are these collectible psychedelic objects that are mostly cube based, and they have special energy or powers or are keys to other things in Artifact Quest. It's kind of like a science fiction with shades of horror to it. But I guess you could describe it as something like a D&D or a Cyberpunk 2020 type of thing, just built with NFTs. And then on top of that, I try to make the art look good. So even if you're not aware of the mechanics and stuff, that it's just a cool piece to have.
Well, I started buying your stuff. Full disclosure here, right? In fact, I went back today and I looked to see like what my oldest piece of yours is. It turns out that I flipped all your early shit. I used to buy. I remember seeing your stuff the first time back in like late April or May, maybe May. Okay,
Yeah,
and sniping stuff. I knew that Fuck Render had a piece of yours in his early wallet.
that was crazy. And then I think it got stolen too.
Is that what happened? Did he lose all of that? Because he's got some of my stuff in there too. He bought. Yeah,
As far as I know, yeah.
he bought the my second or third piece, my ferocious. He bought that, and that's all. He still has another. He's got another wallet with more of my stuff in it. But yeah, I remember seeing that he had your piece. So then I was like looking, and then I used to when I was first learning the platform because I always felt that it was important for me to understand like the collector point of view to the way that like things were traded and bought and sold and who was into what and whatever. And so I would sit there and watch the feed, and I remember like 4 or 5 times sniping like 101s or very low count stuff of yours, and then like flipping it right away.
Dude, that is so crazy because like I'm not even kidding here. When I saw that Fuck Render bought that piece, I was at this community pool that my neighborhood has with my wife, and I was listening to your episode of That's Nifty
Is that right?
while it was happening. Yeah,
That's crazy. um, well, yeah, there you go. And so I guess it would have been June then. Okay, that makes more sense. But I think I'd even bought some stuff before he bought. But either way, I was flipping your stuff because
yeah.
I would get it and then just like immediately 5x it, and then move on to the next one. I mean, look, I got no issues with guys flipping stuff. It's only when they start chasing floors down and being obnoxious and cheating to do it. Even if they want to chase floors, and give people a
No,
hard.
I love the flipping. It's good for the universe, as I say in
Yeah.
Artifact
Oh,
Quest.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's fucking great that you were listening to that that episode.
Yeah, that's so cosmic. It sounds like.
What do you think, Kitch? You got two of your favorites here. Is this what you
All
dreamt
roads
of?
lead back to That's Nifty.
You've always wanted this. I think you've been trying to set us up on a double date for a very long time.
I think you guys have been interacting for a while now. Alex is in the
Oh, sure,
grotto.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but not publicly.
Yeah, I guess not publicly. I think this is cool. You guys can share a platform and get more eyes on both projects because they're two of my favorite in the Tezo space for sure. And it's leveraging the platform for what it's used for best, right? Which is you can do a lot of transfers, a lot of different mechanics on Tezos that are just cost prohibitive on ETH. So I just love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's. I think there are a few of us that really use the no gas approach as a part of our artwork, right? And I think you do the same thing, Alex. I think
Yeah.
you like I do see utility um, as much of a tool in the artist toolbox as anything, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. And I remember when I was starting and they were talking about like interactive Ethereum games, and I'm just like, who the fuck is going to do that, man? Like, that's going to just destroy everybody. And so when I found Tezos, I was like, okay, this is a great way to like get things out to people really fast.
So, how much of your stuff had you? Because I get this question all the time, right? But I'd like to ask it to somebody else for once. How much of your stuff had you conceived of ahead of time? Like, do you like, or are you reactionary? Because I know there's a lot. I mean, there's something to be said of being like reactionary and letting like a narrative play out. But how much of your stuff is like, where you're going with it?
Yeah, I don't know. Through all my stuff, I've been kind of keeping a half and half approach with everything I do. Like, I have a predetermined destination, but the collectors influence so much stuff. They give me ideas, and um, I deviate from the main path that's still going to go to the same destination. And I also do that in my artwork, like with Factoids, the spinoff of Artifact Quest. That's my PFP currently. It's like it's a PFP project, but it's like not 100% generated. It's half generated and then half bespoke each time. So I've always kind of tried to do a 50-50 approach because I've always done that with artifacts. They're not completely randomized by a computer. They have they're partly randomized and then specifically chosen and designed after that.
So, how are you distributing the factoids?
They are on sale right now at factoids.art, 10 tes a piece, and they're all one of ones. And these are characters that are going to be integrated into the story of Artifact Quest because we're about to dump them all into Scrambler City,
Okay.
which is this metropolis in the Discord.
Wait, you said factoids.art?
What'd you say?
You said factoids.art?
Yeah, factoids.art.
Which then takes me into a fucking object page, which
Yeah.
object's been a bitch all day.
Is it even working right now?
It worked like for a couple minutes, long enough for me to go see what of your stuff I still own, which I have like 7 pieces still,
Heck yeah.
including the first ever artifact for education. Just saying, Kitch.
Ooh, yes.
Kitch wants that.
I have that.
Oh, you have that? We both do. Oh, look at
Yeah.
us! Look at us.
Yeah.
Get
We're
out of my
education
sphere.
buddies.
Yeah. It's hard to compete with Kitch.
I did want to say, because I do have to jump off for a work call, boo. But for everyone listening who's not a collector of Alex, like the price points to enter the collection is less than a Tezos for most of the pieces. Like he keeps them super low. There's a lot of room for secondary growth with those, and pick out the ones you like. There's a lot of different types of artifacts that do different things. So join his Discord. A lot of that is explained in there. There's a lot of lore and narrative around the project that's still being built out around it, and we love as collectors being able to have input in that process. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kitch is part of the Screed. He's part of the evil alien force that just sequestered everybody into Scrambler City. So he's like chosen sides, and we're doing this thing where we're crafting a corporation to appeal to the citizens, and so we're creating food, fast food, like a burger, and everybody that's a Screed splits the revenue or splits the royalties of it,
Love it.
because it's going to be airdropped.
Yeah, I love that. I dig that aspect. I shy away from letting anyone have any input. I don't even like it when people are speculating on what new stuff is going to be, because I hate it when they get something right. But uh, I wish I could allow my collectors to have as much input into it as you do. I just think you've got better, smarter collectors than I do when it comes down to it.
Oh, come on. Don't you dare talk about the grotto like that. Half of them are my collectors too.
um, no, I've got. For those of you that don't know, we're entering a new era in the Grotto, the franchise era. Um, I do run my stuff very much more like a hardcore old school dictator than you do. There's no question. Okay. There's been a lot of gifts floating around recently of Mussolini in the grotto.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna pull a name out of the hat, kind of
Now,
like
granted, I've been the one putting those gifts up, but
that.
it's there's a reason, okay, and I've got a certain way of doing things. It's because I got to get to where I got to get, and I got to teach the elements that I got to teach to get us there. But I think that's where we are now. So now we're moving into franchise era, where now I am opening it up. All these teams that I've created are now going to be owned by collectors, by either a single collector an ownership group, right? And they're going to own them. They're going to own the IP on them, not the artwork, but the conception, the concept, the conceptualization of that team. They're going to own, and so they'll run these teams as their own franchises, their own independent businesses, and as such, they'll be creating sort of their own. I'm not going to say narratives. There are going to be elements of it that they can contribute to the overall path. I still have the grand universal plan, okay? But the way that they're interacting and the way that they put that in motion and the way that they guide their group of collectors, because as a team, if somebody comes in, one person or a group comes in and buys a team, they then have players on that team, and the players are made up of other collectors. Okay, so what we've done over the last when we do it in October, September, October, October, I guess. In October, we started this idea of people playing for the teams that I've painted. Okay, and it was, without going too deep on that, because a lot of the guys in the grotto know this, but the way it was set up is you just sort of told me what your favorite team was, and you end up playing for them. You didn't know that's what was going to happen, but that's how we set it up. But then over the last, what is that, 5 or 6 months, people have been playing for these teams and sort of um, guiding each other and helping each other and learning together of how to be the best at playing threesomes. And so it's that same idea that as a group now you can achieve goals and you can work towards stuff, but instead of it being under my tutelage, every team owner, every ownership group sets their philosophies and policies and approaches to how to best collect my stuff. And so the way it's going to work is these owners will be paying their players uh, in order to play for them. And so if you're chosen to play for the monsters, you'll be given a salary, which then that salary is used to attain more threesomes and play even further and harder and get better at it. And as you're doing that, the team itself is building up a sort of an all-encompassing collection, and that's what it competes with other teams with, right? So whoever has that best collection as you go through a season becomes the winner. And so we've been doing that this last season. It's what used to be called a series is now called a season, and so we have like internal competitions, and now we're going to be having daily competitions and the like. So the league has taken shape and really starts to play out as a living, breathing organism, which is the whole concept of the piece to begin with.
So does the activity that happens in this event or in this whole mechanic of team, does that change or affect the narrative and where it's going with you, or has
No,
it been designed to be open-ended like that?
it's been designed to be open-ended like that. Okay, it doesn't change the narrative in the sense that I have this overall story to tell. Okay, um, but up until this phase, and I only release what I'm releasing, what we're talking about at any given moment, right? So to get here, I had to lay that foundation. But the concept, going back to the original idea of me painting these things and then putting them into the world, okay, plays off of the imaginary baseball league that I conceived of when I was 9 years old, right? And it's the league more than the teams. But of course, I couldn't. If I told you that from the beginning, it would taint the way that
Right.
people understood and collected and learned about this, right?
Right.
It's been moving towards this point, and we're still moving towards other points, which we're not going to discuss, right? Um, but the idea being that this is a far better professional baseball league that has been conceived than what is out there right now. Okay, I think it's a better league and it's a better selection of teams and it's got a better place in the universe than Major League Baseball or minor league baseball. Okay, so in that regard, that's all designed, and now I need to hand over the reins to the franchise aspect of it. They're called Major League Baseball franchises, but for a reason. It's kind of like, here's your individual business. It's under my big umbrella, but you go run it the way you see fit. Come up with your own promos, come up with your own approaches, your own philosophies, your own manner of attracting players. Go do it, right? As long as you're acting in the overall good of the league, do whatever you got to do. And
So
so in that,
it's kind of like threesomes is Skyrim, and then this league stuff is like the Elder Scrolls Online, where like this stuff can happen.
yeah,
But
you're expecting me to know references that I don't.
I figure other people might know that.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure.
But I'd also like to hear you squirm too. Can I
I'm
just say? Can I just say? I've always loved just listening to your voice, and it blew my mind when I actually saw what you look like, because your voice kind of sounds like if John Candy was still alive.
That's really
But you look
cruel.
kind of like, like Skeet Ulrich or something like that, like a middle-aged Skeet Ulrich or
A
something.
middle-aged Keith. First of all, do you know how many babies have been conceived to my voice in the last year?
By you or just like
No. I tell the girls that they're going to get one. They don't get one though. No, by just the fact that I've created an entire sex industry around my voice. Okay, and I'll tell you this: not a single one of those women or men is imagining John fucking Candy. Okay,
yeah.
you just ruined it for everyone.
Hey
You
man,
may have
John
just
Candy's got a great voice.
you may have just set my brand back by if fucking at the end of this year my projections are down 20%, I'm coming after you, Delia.
Hey man, come after John Candy. Don't blame me.
But thank you for being middle-aged Skeet Ulrich. Um, I don't know what he looks like. I just sort of scoff at the name Skeet, and so I just refuse to acknowledge him.
You scoff at Skeet?
Yeah, I do. I scoff at Skeet. It's
Okay.
one of my passions.
Okay.
Um,
I saw a picture of you from like NYC NFT, like when you first started this. And then I saw a picture of you in Miami, and I was like, that is so inspiring. Like, he's growing his hair out and stuff. He's becoming a fucking artist, man. It is so cool to see that.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I am becoming an artist. It's funny because, you know, um, I wasn't at all. And you're sort of weren't either, right?
Sorry, what'd you say? You cut
Well,
out a
okay.
little bit.
I said that you said I'm becoming an artist, and I said that I wasn't an artist, right? And you, as I remember from your story, you really weren't an artist either, right? You were like,
No, not really.
yeah.
I've kind of just been making art on my own terms, but I've never been able to like get a job doing art. I have been recently, but before all this, not really.
And so when you were making art on your own terms, um, how long? I mean, I mean, going back to when you were a kid. I mean, were you always creative and looking for an outlet, or?
Um, I was, but I was never. I still can't draw anything. And no matter how hard I try, it's just something that I don't quite understand. But I've always liked photography and filmmaking and movies and stuff like that. And so I always found that 3D is very close to photography. If you kind of have an idea of how to take a picture and how to light something, then you kind of get like the basic principles of how to make something look decent in 3D or realistic, rather. And so that's why that was sort of always my art of choice because you can just create dimension really fast.
Well, it's funny, and I'm remembering that you had your film background. That's that was my first desire to be an artist, was to make movies.
Oh,
Um,
totally, man. It's the mecca of all art forms because it just combines every aspect of it into one package.
I was, I was cursed by being a fucking great baseball player, right? It kind of derailed a lot of my life. And so the best, I didn't have time, I didn't have the time to become a filmmaker that I wanted. It's all I wanted to be. Um, and so the only way that I could find any time was to write screenplays. Like I could take a couple hours or an hour a day and grab a notebook, you know. And so that's what I wanted. So I was storytelling, and my after baseball, and after because I went, when my baseball career ended, one day to the next, I ran off to Spain just to get away from baseball. Um, and while I was there, I was writing a lot and really sort of immersing myself in film. But after Spain, I decided flat out that I was going to be a screenwriter, and that was what I was going to dedicate myself to, and ended up selling an option and making those moves into that world. Um, but then I quickly realized that there wasn't real money in it, and all of a sudden I knocked up a lady friend, and realized that I had to have all this money. So I moved away from that, um, because of a financial choice. Right? I needed to. I had other ways to make a lot.
Sure, I think a lot of people do end
Right.
up,
Exactly.
walking
I'm
away from it because of that.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'm not saying that I'm unique in that regard at all. At all. I know that's kind of like where we all set, a lot of us sort of set aside our artistic desires, right? Um, but what happened is when I started painting very late in life, right? Um, it was a way to immediately, it almost like immediately reconnected me to the storytelling aspect. And then for me, the easiest point that I'd already flushed out an entire story was to go back into this world, right? So the funny thing about my stuff is, I just did low effort animals, right? Literally, the low effort animals and the sketches are like the first paintings I've ever done that aren't threesomes.
Yeah,
I mean, this is insane if I think about it. I think Huey Crowley's in here right now. Huey has this like huge arc as a painter. He goes from painting like, you know, portraiture and like art school stuff to finding a different voice to changing a different voice to moving into something else. That's what most real working professional painters do. They have this like arc to it, right? And I literally like decided to start painting threesomes one day. And that's it. It's like all I know how to do.
but there's something that that I always took to heart that you were saying is like you're one of the first pure NFT artists where you started making art for the sake of being tokenized, and
God fucking bless you.
that's something.
Can we get that? Somebody can grab a clip of that and fucking throw it up. You're goddamn right. I am.
I'm just
But
copying. I'm just literally saying the exact same thing you said when I was listening to an interview. But I agree with it because I remember your story, and it's kind of like this modern myth of this. I don't know what like kind of corporations you worked for, but I know that you worked in corporations, and for someone to leave that behind to become a full time artist is super inspiring, and that's why I still have my Swipe Grotto edition because it's just like such an inspiring thing to see someone delete their LinkedIn like that.
well, I appreciate that, and I mean, I'm also, I was joking that you're insane because you got a little touch of it, but
A little bit.
I'm like legit insane in that I left my very high paying, very I was set. I could have just played that corporate game for another few years and gotten a position where I'm making a couple million a year just to fucking sign things, right? Um, and I walked from it before I'd even minted and sold anything. I mean,
Yeah, I remember hearing that. I was like, because you quit like in April or something,
yeah.
right?
I quit in April. I minted the one piece on Foundation in May, which didn't nobody ever saw it. Like literally two people saw.
When I heard that, I was like, I didn't even know that there was non-Tezos threesomes things.
There was for a little bit, and then I had to get
Yeah.
rid of it, and then I reminted it. But yeah, I and nobody does that. Everybody else, like they're people who made millions last year, millions with an M and an S, who still work
Yeah.
their fucking day jobs.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking
It's wild.
Larona is posting because I fucking follow her Instagram. Sorry, I like her bangs. But she's posting, "Oh, I'm back at the office." I was like, "What the fuck are you doing at the
Yeah, I
office?"
know, man. God, I gotta say, when I was getting started, Lorona was such an inspiration to me. Because I did this series that I didn't put my name on called 99 Brains. You can still get it on OpenSea. And I was like, I just want to make something that just looks like some kind of like important sculpture that was found. And I sort of took that idea into Artifact Quest and blew it up a little bit more. But she's so great. I can't believe that she still has a job.
It it makes no sense to me. It makes zero sense to me. I I don't know. Yeah, and there are a couple of them. There are a couple that like still do gig work. I'm like, what the fuck is the? I just think they're young and nervous, and they
I
probably
don't know.
don't. They probably
Getting
don't
some
have the.
US dollars occasionally is still pretty nice.
Yeah, I just don't. I think that they might not have the business skill set that I expect everybody in the world to have, which of course nobody
Yeah,
does.
of course, of
Um,
course.
but yeah, I don't know. That or it's just pure greed. They just want as much money as possible. And then I got no place in my life for them. I give away my money long before I fucking care about making more of it. Honestly, uh, I don't know. I don't know. It's out there. So let's see. What I'm really curious, and I'm mad at myself that I didn't know about this factoid stuff because you know, I, look, I'm an old man. You've already pointed it out. I'm I'm old.
But
I'm
I also
old
pointed
Skeet
out
Ulrich.
you're not as old as you sound, right?
I'm
That's
old.
what kids.
I'm older than I sound. Believe me, I'm older than I am. Okay.
Come on, man. You look like Skeet. Don't stop me.
You even said I look like old Skeet. Um,
No, I mean, like, have you seen the new Scream movie? They did a CGI Skeet, and I was like, oh, okay.
why did they have to see? Is he dead? I don't even
Well,
know
he
if it's.
died in the first Scream movie. Spoilers.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus. Well, yeah. Then I'll take that off my queue.
but so his niece or something is haunted by visions of him in the mirror. So they did. So they're like, you know what we need? We need to get some Skeet in this, and it can't be current Skeet because he looks like an NFT artist. So we need to get a CGI young Skeet.
Well, all I know is this, okay? And I'm so dumb. I miss so many goddamn references. They call me Boomer in the goddamn in the grotto, which is so rude because I'm not that old.
But you got that U2 knowledge, right?
I do have the U2 knowledge. I've been in my lifetime to actually what's the exact number? Because I was 27 U2 shows, and
Gosh, that's a lot of
and
time
I've
spent.
been I've been front row, okay, at all but 4 of them. Think about that for a second. Now this is not look. I'm not a YouTube fanboy. I just happen to know all of their birthdays and all of their wives' names.
Is Bono just always like, "Oh, it's you again.
Oh
I see
yeah.
you."
Oh, believe me, they know me. So dumb, so dumb. But
And I
anyway,
just
and
like
I
I
look.
take my hat off to you. Just kidding.
Just so you know, I don't even listen to U2 anymore. Like it's a real rarity that I listen to U2. I'm not going to say that I broke up with them the way I broke up with baseball and Star Wars. Um, but no, it's a real rarity that I listen to U2. I don't know. It's strange. But the guys they love teasing me about it, and they love teasing me about being as old as I am. Okay, but a part of my being this old and being in this space is, and it's why I'm going to ask you a really shitty question here. Okay,
Okay.
isn't it really easy just to make cubes?
Sorry, you cut out. Did make
Oh,
what?
to make cubes.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, but I think there's something that makes it work because it's such a simple shape, you know? And I've told people that like it's not hard to make their own artifact, um, especially in Cinema 4D. And I actually started a thing called Artifact Quest Labs so that other people can make artifacts and mint them on the contract. Um, I don't know. Every time I go back to it, I try and add new shapes to them, and sometimes they work, but I've noticed that it just gets too complex when you go beyond the angles of a sphere, maybe, you know? Because there are spherical artifacts, but I've tried it with like isosahedrons and stuff, and it's just too much information visually to where you go back to a cube and there's something kind of calming about that because we all know what a cube looks like, and it's the basic three-dimensional shape. And it also kind of looks like what real minerals look like. One of my collectors is really into rock collecting and stuff, and he showed me pictures of rocks he's seen at shows, and they look like artifacts, and it just kind of blew my mind.
Okay, yeah, because there's like a certain crystallization that really does take on cube form, right?
Yeah, and so that just kind of reinforced it. Where I was like, this is a shape that's in nature. So, and the story with Artifact Quest is that these things, this one giant artifact flew down from the sky. It was the first artifact for educational purposes that you have. It descended down to Stonehenge and created a trans-dimensional scar in the ground. So the clean artifacts grew out of the ground from this giant scar in the grass. And so I kind of wanted them to still look like they could exist in nature. But then we find out they're this intergalactic object that is seen all across the universe.
Look, I'm not going to argue any of that. It all seems very plausible. Uh, but I love having somebody that is like the polar opposite artistically from where I am, and having you like here with me and talking about this stuff because I really believe this is one of the fascinating elements of the NFT space is that it really allows completely disparate approaches to art to exist side by side in
Oh,
ways.
it's the best part. I rarely collect 3D art. because I'm just not really drawn to it, um, outside of, a concept, really. I really collect a lot more hand painted stuff, hand drawn stuff, hand sculpted stuff,
Well,
as well as like glitch art and analog art and stuff like that. These are things that I would never be able to find outside of this.
well, I don't collect much of the digital art because his titties don't look as good, you know,
Right.
and that's essentially all I collect. If you did,
There's something I've always wanted to ask you about. Is the influence that horror and horror movies have had on your cards.
I don't know if I'm willing to answer this yet. Um, I started painting the monsters at like the end of 2020. Okay, and yeah, like around Thanksgiving of 2020, I guess, is when I started painting the monsters. On into to early, like probably spring of 2021, and I had to go watch a lot of those movies that I'd never seen before. I
So it was a recent thing. You hadn't watched them before you did the series.
I had never watched any of them, and I still haven't watched Halloween. Um, it's
Did you say Halloween?
Halloween. Yeah, sorry if I'm breaking up. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I still haven't watched Halloween. The one I loved Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I saw that like on Christmas night of 2020
Yeah.
for the first time in my life.
Oh man, that's the best movie.
It's a great movie. It's a really great movie.
The soundtrack is just so awesome. It's a bunch of pots and pans beating together in slow motion.
And Lucha Abracadabra, one of my great collectors, and a real film buff in that sense, right? And a real B movie, monster movie guy would hate the fact that I'm about to say I really don't like the majority of the horror movies I've ever seen. And I've only seen like 9. Like it's never been on my spectrum. I was like much more art house. And even like, if you go back to like The Omen, you know, and
Yeah.
like that shit, like even that I was like, oh, I prefer real art house stuff to this stuff. So I've never been into it.
Hmm.
But
What's your favorite movie of all time?
favorite movie of all time is The Wild Bunch, Sam Peckinpah.
Yeah, I love a peck and paw.
I mean, I love Peckinpah. I love him. But here's the thing.
Those are kind of like horror movies, threesomes.
It's gruesome. Yeah, to me, he's the most American director.
Oh, for sure.
And here's the thing. And this comes from growing up in isolation and reading a lot of weird literature, like a lot of classics. Okay. Um, my life was very. I didn't even have like electricity as a kid, so I didn't see a lot of things. I read a lot, right? And then when I did get electricity, I immediately like jumped into cinema, but a lot of world cinema. Okay, I was like really, really, really into what we call foreign film, right? And
Yeah.
so here I was, like, I'm as American as you can get. My parents are like mega generations deep, like New England Puritan, like Americans. Many generations, right? I didn't come over. I came over on the original boat. I didn't come over on a boat with a bunch of others, right? And so, but I've never felt that. I've never really felt American in this weird sense. And yet, look at the things that I got myself into. They were like very all American approaches to things. And so I've looked at America and American culture and American nostalgia in this sort of longing way. And then I spent a good deal of my like the first 10 years post baseball like living in other countries, right? And so then I took on this whole other view of America and Americans, and it shapes a lot of what I do. So when I look at horror as this like quintessential American genre, which obviously been reinterpreted by other countries and other approaches. I do love Guillermo del Toro. Okay, but if I look at sort of American horror as we consider like all of these pieces that I painted in monsters, right? Even going back to 50s like monster movies and 30s monster movies and stuff, it doesn't resonate with me in a real sense that I'm like not a fan of any of it, but I look at it as like as American as baseball.
Yeah, I was gonna say slasher movies and baseball cards. The Venn diagram, is combined at some point.
No, I agree. I appreciate you seeing that because it really is. And if I mean, a lot of you just tapped into what this project is, right? The whole art side of it is that American Venn diagram, I guess. Okay, these are all commentaries on what is seen by the world as uniquely American, or not uniquely necessarily, but identifiably American. And so yeah, so for me, like
That brings a lot more clarity to it, actually. Hearing you say that.
I appreciate it. And that's why I like having these conversations every once in a while, because it's a way, I always joke that I'm still considered the baseball card guy. Like that's which is fine. I mean, it's where I make my money at, right? Um, but
Yeah, I
there,
don't know. I tell some people, I'm like, this threesomes card is like a horror card. The POAP that you did with that dead body. I was just like, holy shit, man.
I mean, look, I, I'm trying to capture things that matter to the whole story of what we are as Americans, and but really how it's seen outside. And so for me to look, I'm a very sweet boy. Okay, I don't ever want to tie anybody up or be tied up. I don't ever want to hurt anybody. I lose a boner the moment there's anybody that goes, ow. Okay. It's kind of a deal breaker a lot of the time, I'll be honest. But I need to dive into like sadism at times, right? Because in my work, I need to I need to play in realms that make me uncomfortable because it tells this greater story. Okay. I mean, there are people in the grotto who I talk to every day who think that I love tying girls up or being tied up or being pissed on or whatever, I don't
It's
even like
probably the
baseball.
Threesies character too. People just think you look like that. I'm sure.
They think I look like they think I am, and which I am. I mean, here's the deal. You know, you give me another couple years and give me another 6 months of not leaving my apartment and just sitting in my fucking chair for painting all day. I am gonna look like Threesies. Okay. Um, Jesus, I've destroyed my once beautiful body since I became threesomes. Okay, I was
Yeah,
once a great beauty.
I was wanting to make a factoid, like a grotto factoid, and try and recreate that Threesies character with like the comb over and stuff.
I mean, I think there's a lot there, and I've seen some people sort of play with it. I think we're just barely opening it up to where that goes, and I do think that yeah, it's I love and the funny thing is, and I've said this, so this is not like breaking news, okay? But most people don't realize that Threesies, who's come to be Threesies, okay? He was just a painting. He was just a character that I came up with for the team of the Coders. Now we know he plays for the Coders, right? That took a long, I had to keep that from everybody for a very long time. But but he was just a guy. He was just a guy that I thought looked like a 1970s computer programmer. Like I just can see, like it's just he's not based on anybody. It's not anything, right? But he's just this guy, and
That's not a player under that.
the player under there doesn't at all look like him at all,
Oh, okay.
right? Yeah, no. And there's it kind of like a lot of you can tell how early in my painting career cards were originally painted. Because remember, I might mint something tomorrow that I painted in fucking 2019. Okay. It's just that's where now it's the time that it comes to light, right? There's other stuff that I need to paint today to release tomorrow. I mean, it's both sides of it, right? But 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 Threesies, as we know him now, was just a fucking computer programmer from the '70s. I just really love the painting, and I love the way that I captured that hair, right? And so to me, it just became like a great PFP to like kind of show my chops. I feel that the painting in there really tells a story, right?
It totally does, and it presents everything, and you get the whole vibe of the project from saying this artist looks like this.
To this day, people still think it's me. Which first of all, other than Huey Crowley, okay, who else is putting a conceptualized picture of themselves up as their PFP? Like, what is that people would even somehow believe that I would paint myself and then make it my PFP? It's like insane.
But I guess you could sort of imagine your voice coming out of that face. You know what I mean? That's why it's so shocking. That, and I go back to the skeet thing.
Well, um, I really debated at one point. I was having a conversation with Buddy Fox, our own dear Buddy Fox, about about going public, about being something, and I kicked around the idea of having a Threesies like headpiece created, like a full on cast mask,
Oh
where
my god, that would be great. Have you ever
I would
seen this movie called Trash Humpers?
trash what?
Trash Humpers. It's by
No,
this director named Harmony Korine.
I know
It's
Harmony
pretty.
Korine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one. Okay.
Oh well, I mean, like I would imagine a Threesies mask looking because it's basically a video of Harmony and his wife and a couple of their friends just wearing these really shitty old people masks, like elderly person masks, and going around and committing felonies and stuff. Um, but I would even imagine like you should see it because it has a similar vibe that I get off your project as a whole.
Oh, I definitely will. I will. I'll take you up on that one. I'll take you up on that one before Skyrim meets Galactica or whatever you were talking about.
Yeah, definitely.
By the way, the grotto now is starting with the fucking John Candy gifts, so I appreciate that, Alex. That's gonna have
Good,
some legs, I can tell.
good.
Okay. Fucking assholes.
Hey man, John Candy was the voice of my childhood, so it's like I'm still listening to him.
Well, okay, I appreciate that to a degree. I love John Candy, but yeah, wow, that wasn't what I saw
I
coming.
love that. I wish I sounded like that.
When it came to the mask, I was like, I was I was skeptical about ever showing my face, right? Um, and then when I in New York, like I was gonna have to go accept this award and everything, and so I was like kind of coming to grips with it. And what happened is the like the first or second night of NFT NYC, I guess it was the night after the award. And then people started, they knew what I looked like and they started approaching me. And when I started getting people asking for selfies, I fucking realized that I was just far too beautiful not to let
Right,
others in.
right. You're like the jig is up.
Yeah, I was just like, you know what? I was once a great beauty, but I still got some looks.
Yeah, man.
I can still catch a finger here or there. And so
How when did you say I'm gonna grow my hair out? I'm gonna have long hair. I'm gonna be one of those long hair guys.
well, so I mean, look, I've mainly had longish hair most of my life. Even in corporate land, I was always like they knew me as the weirdo with the non-corporate hairstyle, right? Um, but what you don't know is so it just it grows. I get a little length in the back, but I cut my own hair, and I've been doing this. I started in I do. I cut my own hair,
Yeah,
and
my wife cuts my hair. I haven't been to a barber in
oh, I well,
15 years.
I have lots of ex-wives, and lots of them have cut my hair over the years. I'm all for that, but I started I do this. I have now. First of all, in like I don't have as much length because I cut the length a bunch of it now, but I've been doing since August, which is right before. See, I did a public event because I went to Slime Sundays opening at Phillips. That was the first time anybody had ever seen me. I'm like Kitsch and Nips and Slime, and then a bunch of the artists that I met me there, and I was like, okay, well now I'm kind of out. So that was sort of the beginning of being out. But I had just cut my hair into. I basically gave myself this really wacky mullet, okay, which I just kind of always wanted to do, and now I've learned how to cut, and I cut it into this thing where like I have basically a weird mohawk. That's what's underneath my cap. Okay.
Yeah.
And so a part of it is just like they got the length and I got the ball cap, and that's how I'm known as threesomes and the whole bit. Um, but the what's really going on is what's underneath that fucking cap, and that only a handful have ever seen. I'm trying to think. I was about to ask. Did I was no. Now I know the answer. I was going to ask if I went to the Playboy party without a cap, but now there's like a thing that Math Ice, the Math Jizz, the wonderful artist from the Netherlands. Um, but he did this mock up of me that night at the Playboy party and made it into like this bad cop movie from the '70s, which is really great with a couple of the collectors. But no, at this point, I I'm everything that I've been. Even in all my corporate years, I was like a cowboy, like outsider. Okay, a little bit rock star. Now I'm just like a Vince Neil later years rock star. I'm like a what's his name, Brett from Poison. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like an elderly rocker who I wish I were skinny like Mick Jagger, but I'm not. I'm fat like Vince Neil, and so that's what I am now, and that's how I've decided like my artist look is going to be. It's just going to be like rocker that tours casinos and likes to eat.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating metamorphosis visually, at least.
Well, if you,
I know that you haven't changed at all, but you know, you I should really do a mohawk thing now that I don't have to go into an office for the
yeah,
conceivable future.
dude, mine is pretty fucking. I usually cut it down to like a 4 on the sides, but last week I cut it down to a 2, and fuck, I really turned myself on. Like I got it going on. And then the other day I was I live in Brooklyn, and I was just sort of out real quick. I ran to an ATM, the only time I go outside ever. But I saw this really, really sexy young girl with my haircut, and I was like, she was like kind of punky, little gothy, little fucking sexy, like definitely body positive, but very, very cool. Okay. And I was like, I love our fucking hair. And I did. For a moment, I felt like we shared that, and I do. I have the haircut of a very sexy goth girl who's like 22. That's all I got.
Yeah. Do you have more of those hats? Am I able to get one of those hats?
What hats?
Your
My
threesomes
hats.
hat.
It's not a Threesies hat. The hat that you're thinking of is a 1952 Tokyo Giants, Tokyo Kyojin, which means giant man. So it says Kyojin, it says giant man on it, which I think is funny because I am a giant man. Even when
Yeah.
I'm
For
skinny,
some
I'm
reason,
like
I
a
thought it
big
was.
guy.
For some reason, I thought it was three threes
It looks
put
like it. It
together.
does look like it. But to answer that question. Okay, like my caps are just like cool caps that I wear. I wish I were cool enough to wear a branded cap. PB rocks a paper Buddha cap all the time, and he looks awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I just met him.
Yeah, you
It was
just hung
super
with
cool.
him. I wanted to ask you about that. I'll come back to that.
It was
Um,
great, man. We missed you. Denver was super fun.
but everybody always asks like when merch, right? and
Yeah.
that's a part of franchise era. Okay, if I don't sleep, I don't go outside, I rarely have a sex life, I rarely have any sort of anything anymore. Okay, um, now look, I say I rarely have a sex life. I still am banging balls deep all the time. Everybody, don't worry.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay,
That's
just I mean, let's not think that I'm not.
it.
Okay,
Checks out for sure.
but um, I don't have time. If I hit the time I spend either being threesomes or painting threesomes, okay, or being threesies or painting threesies, okay. If I fucking was still like coordinating a fucking merchandise, like some sort of purveyor vendor that's gonna make hoodies, fuck you, no, So franchise era now, because the teams buy the rights to the stuff, okay, you'll be able to get a Monsters hoodie, but
I
you'll be
mean,
buying it.
I really want like hats. Are you guys gonna do hats,
Look, they can
or
do
is that
whatever.
up to the
They can,
franchisees?
they can do mouse pads. They can do
What kind of a hat is that? It's like a tiny hat that you have.
tiny hat. I don't know.
It's like a hat, like the bill's like shorter than a regular hat,
Look,
right?
look. The caps that I wear. Okay, this is my one little luxury. Okay, everybody in the grotto knows that I don't spend any money on myself. But my one little luxury, which I started a few years ago, is I buy these very expensive handmade caps they're called Ebbetsfield Flannels. It's a company that started when I was like 11, and I lusted after their stuff for decades. But I always felt if you can buy a cap for $15, why would you buy one for 40? Like, because I not that I'm cheap, I spend, just I don't spend on myself. And so now the caps are like $60. Okay, it's a lot for a baseball cap, but they're handmade, made on original milling machines that they went in and bought from like the original producers of original, like, 1930s baseball uniforms, and they make each cap like specific to what that cap would have been. And so caps were different, like based on the eras. Visors were shorter, and the thing that you're noticing about my caps is that the Tokyo one has a little bit shorter visor, but it's not like it's not like comical. It's not like I'm fucking cosplaying 1890 with a pillbox cap. Like I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't do that. I once bought one of those, and I was young though. I was like fucking 19 or so, and I bought like a 1906 Detroit Tigers cap for like Ty Cobb, and I was like, get this shit off me. Like even at 19, I was like, that's fucking stupid. Anybody that wears that has like a and back then we didn't know that they were hipsters, but believe me, there are hipsters walking around Brooklyn right now with
Do you remember when people used to
1906.
wear those like painters caps?
Of course. Oh
So
yeah, and that was kind of. I mean, I'm old enough that there were cool guys in high school when I was in like elementary who wore those things and got
yeah,
lots of puss. I mean, let's be honest. But yeah, I remember the painters caps.
I remember, and people wore the overalls too. It was like people were dressing as painters for a while.
You know what? It was the late '70s, and it was everybody was just really really fucked up. That's all that was. And yeah,
Yeah,
like the paint cap, God, those painters caps. They were still giving away in the minor leagues as like a yearly promotion. I'm talking in 1988. You could get a 1988 Albuquerque Dukes painters cap. That was like, a Monday in June. You could go
yeah,
get your painters cap given away.
and they were really cheap too, weren't they?
Oh yeah,
Painters caps.
yeah. You know what? Maybe since you want a three piece cap,
Yeah, give
maybe
it
I'll look
painters.
into I'll look into I may if I got time this weekend, I'll look into sourcing some threesome painters caps. But only if you're
Yeah,
gonna rock it all the time.
I mean, of course I would. After once I have my mohawk, I gotta cover it up.
Now I'm worrying about the fact that in this conversation, you're saying, well, now you want to get a mohawk because I've got one, and now you want to wear a painter's cap. I mean, I was
It's a
kidding.
bad influence.
I told everybody in the grotto that you fucking idolized me. Is this really true? Do you want to be me?
I mean, kind of. I really admire you.
Well, I admire you. I like your work. I always have. I love. I mean, people think my utility and my narrative's fucking crazy. Yours is literally over the end. It's like just it's fucking great. It's I love it, and I love that you're committed to it, and I love that you play it out. And same way you rarely collect fucking threesomes because you don't have the time for it because you're building your own uniforms. I rarely collect your stuff, but I love it. And every once in a while, I'll see one like pop up, and I'll just grab it. But I'm not into it. I don't know your stuff, and I feel bad about that. But I think you understand.
No, I'm the same way with you. It's where it's like I feel like I'm too late, you know, to like
Well,
collect it.
the one thing is, and this is where I have that little advantage over all of the rest of you artists. Um, I understand the business and the marketing end of all of it, and so I've built it where there's no such thing as being too late. Like anybody who's never bought one of my pieces, if they buy one today, it's a good entry point. It's a good way
Right.
to get into it, and that really is true. And so and I think yours is the same way. That's what Kitch was saying. Like God bless you because nobody else does this. Nobody, you're one of the rare ones that, like me, is like I don't need to overcharge. I can be popular and I could
Yeah.
command a bigger price, but if I ask for that, I'm hurting my collectors, right? And you get that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them would be free if they didn't get botted.
Well, that's look. Don't even get me started. Nothing gets bought in mine. You know that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I know you have the forms set up.
And it just means that I work really fucking hard. I'm just saying you can keep shit away from bots too.
Yeah.
Just take some effort.
Yeah.
Look at me putting you on the spot. See, he pretends like he cares about his collectors, but he lets. No, I'm joking. Look. I'm the only nut job out there who doesn't care about sleeping a good schedule, eating healthily, getting any sort of exercise, or having a healthy relationship with anyone. So I'm the one that can get away with all this shit. The rest of you have lives to live. I get it. I'm not talking shit. I understand it. It's a lot of commitment for the way I do things, and I'm really working towards automating a lot of it. And I've got a lot of things happening that are going to help everybody. Which in turn, Alex, when the time comes, I will be sharing all of that with anybody who wants to use that. And the platform that I'm working with is going to make that possible for everybody to do bot free drops. So, the time will come, but I'm the martyr. I'm the one like, you know, laying myself out there to make it possible for everybody. So
Yeah. I wish we had more time because we could talk about like the state of the Tezos marketplace right now because it's definitely changed a lot.
look, I talk about this every once in a while, but the bad fucking actors won. Okay, I had a long meeting a couple weeks ago in LA, almost specifically to talk about that. Like, to talk with a platform about like where things stand, and I don't think it's dead, but I think it's on life support. Um, I do believe that the right platform could do the right thing and keep it going, but when it comes down to it, the bots and the scripts have won, and in concert with the quote unquote platforms out there have made it where it's a dangerous marketplace. Um, I believe that anybody who can build a community and run their own thing is what Paper Buddha's there. I think you can get there. I think you're there. Um, where you're able to sustain it and take care of everybody and protect the market and keep it free of bots, that you're going to be that we're all going to be fine. But it's not going to be a healthy marketplace. I do believe, and this is the last little like soapbox I'll do, that the right approach is for Tezos, the art side of it, to be seen as the Etsy of the NFT space, where it's not a speculative play. It's not about people making money and getting rich. It's about them, you being able to support diverse artists, underrepresented artists, emerging artists, interact with them, give them a working living, collect their art, hang out, create community, and call it that. and never think you're getting a penny of it back. Once that happens, once that becomes the narrative, and that's a very un-American narrative. That's a very international narrative, but it doesn't play in the speculative nature of the NFT game that we have right now. But once you can get there, I think Tezos is the place for all of that to happen. But as long as people keep thinking that they're gonna have the next Tezos Dogamy fucking John bullshit and flipping for all this ridiculous money, which doesn't exist, um, then we're in trouble. That's
Yeah.
that's my 5 minutes on that.
Well, good. Thank you. I'm glad to hear your thoughts on that.
But like I said, I mean, there's things in the pipeline that I think are gonna give us some legs. I don't think it's gonna die by then. But I say this all the time. I'm not married to Tezos. I like the platform for what it delivers, but I'm not. Even though Debot Cherry called me the best Tezos project out there, I don't even consider myself a Tezos artist. It just so happens that it just is where I transact. But given that those
Yeah.
motherfuckers have never invited me, you know, in coming into Miami, I was the second largest market cap in the entire fucking blockchain, and I didn't get invited to their bullshit party.
Yeah. What's up with that?
They got. I don't exist as far as they're concerned, and that just shows that they got the wrong approach to things. And so,
Did they
if
give you like an award in New York when you won that thing?
they've given me nothing, I didn't. You cut out a little bit. Did they
Yeah.
give me a what?
Did they give you like an award, like a trophy or something?
Oh no! I got an award at NFT NYC. That's it.
Yeah. Did they give you like a physical
Oh no, I
trophy
didn't.
type
No,
of
I
thing?
didn't get a physical. Don't even get me started on that. I didn't even meet anybody from the organization. I literally just like found myself in this space where the event was happening and wandered up on stage to meet the news anchor lady. After the fact, nobody came over and was like, "Hey, good." Nobody told me where to go, where to be. I just
Yeah. Like how do you know it's on the record somewhere?
if if I hadn't been in the building, I wouldn't have gotten it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
If you hadn't been in that room at that time.
yeah, it was wild. So no, but that's why I painted my own. I've painted my little award in a couple of my paintings now, and the award features prominently in the threesies that are revealing here this weekend. So yeah, no, I've created my own award. I got
That's
nothing.
great.
Like it's the fucking craziest thing. It was a
Well,
quote
there was one
unquote
of
a
those
big deal.
POAPs where Threesies was holding one, so I was like, oh, I wonder if they actually like gave him something.
No, they didn't. I like made that whole thing up. So anyway, let's do this. Anybody got any questions? We went long, but I got nothing to do. I got a 3 o'clock. But anybody want to come up? Anybody got anything to say? Anybody want to ask Alex about Zyborg 794 or Skyrim job or anything? No, nobody cares. See, look at this. It's fucking grotto. Fucking grotto. There's no
Well, we've
engagement.
been talking for 90 minutes straight, so
They've all
they're
got us on mute. It's
probably
just
worn
you and
out.
me. It's just you and me here. Assholes. Um, all right. Well, this was fun. You know what? Fuck them. It was just fun to hang out with you for an hour and a half. I'm glad we.
This is great, man. This is a mind bender here.
Very glad we did it. We'll see you in the grotto soon. At some point, I'll see you in Denver. We're definitely going to make that happen.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You're going to come to New York by any chance?
I'm not sure. I'm actually kind of dealing with a family emergency that might be overlapping with that, so I might need to be at home while that's going on.
I gotcha. Well, if you are, you let me know. And if you're ever in New York, you let me know, and I'll let you know next time I'm out west, and we'll cross paths. But really appreciate it. Thanks for filling in. Again, you did an honorable. You did the best you could to fill in for Low Effort Whale, who really is just the best guest we could have ever had. But you did.
No offense taken at all.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I'll see everybody at live from the grotto 4:30 tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay.
Appreciate it.